I get nervous if the cantor stays up at her shulchan a little longer. I'm afraid she's going to start singing on top of my sermons, but I'm just kidding. I hope that was as much fun for you as it was for us on Rosh Hashanah. But you know that I never really wanted to be a singer. I really wanted to be a comedian. I had really hoped growing up around the likes of Alan Sherman and Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner and Jackie Mason that I might actually become a comedian. Jackie Mason, after all you know, did come from a rabbinic family. And I spent much of my childhood memorizing monologues that Steve Martin had done, and unfortunately, Bill Cosby did as well. But the one comedian I really didn't understand when I was a child was a comedian named George Carlin. It went a little bit over my head at the time, and there were bits that I understood, and there were bits that made no sense to me, but there was one that stuck out that I have been mulling over in my head ever since the early 70s when he first performed it. It was something known as 7 words you cannot say on television. Turns out, in 1972, he was actually arrested at a Summerfest in Milwaukee for doing that routine. So it turned out you couldn't say it on television, but you also couldn't say it in public. And I've always wanted to do a bit like that from the Bima. 7 words you can't say from the Bima. But the best I ever really came up with to come close to that was a story I once told about Yazzie, who was at the dinner table with her raucous siblings, and all of a sudden she stood up and she slammed her hand on the table and she said, "Adi just used the P word." And I had no idea what she was talking about. And I was aghast that she would even say that anybody at the table would say such a thing. And so I said to Adi, "Did you really use the P word?" And he said he had absolutely no idea what she was talking about. And he knew that was completely unacceptable. So he denied it because he was raised in a house where you weren't allowed to swear, except I guess if you went off to camp. Because I was raised in a house where if you swore when you came home from camp, there was that 2-hour transition where you had to figure out how to change your language. Usually we had 2 visits, one to the bathroom to wash our mouth out with soap, and then to a dentist because we didn't brush all summer. So anyways, Adi denied saying the P word, to which Yazzie became more animated, demanding he be punished for using the P word. Again, Adi denied it until I don't know who to believe in that story. So I thought to myself, is it possible Adi knows the P word? And to me, it wasn't possible. So I said to Yazzie, is it possible you heard something else? And she said, no. I said, well, what did he say exactly? And she, of course, was reluctant to tell me the P word until I prodded her, and she said, he said, shut up. Shut up. For her, that was the P word. With some relief, I said to Adi, we don't use the P word. We don't say shut up to people. There are other ways to get your point across without trying to stifle someone else. It was a lesson we had all learned in kindergarten. When someone angered us and we wanted to lash out, the teacher would remind us to use our words. But there must be an addendum to that for adults, and that is we must use our words carefully. The choices we make in language can escalate, they can inflame, they can bring panic, they can ignite the words that gaslight others. Or we can choose language that is calm, consoling, and comforting. In the early stages of COVID-19, I stood here in the sanctuary by myself, and I tried each week to bring a message of hope and joy in treacherous times. I sang and danced in this sanctuary all by myself in the hopes that that would change people's feelings about this pandemic. After all, that's the entirety of my job, is putting words together in a way that's appropriate at the right time, so that my words will have greater meaning and greater value at funerals, at weddings, at B'nai Mitzvah, all moments of incredibly heightened emotion, in order to find the right balance. And it's so difficult. How many times, not just in this past year, but in the last 6 years, have I put my foot in my mouth? How many times have I said the wrong thing? Kol NIdrei says, I take it back. I didn't mean to say what I said. I didn't realize how it would be heard. I didn't understand the error of my ways. I wish I had never said those things. Mesilat Yesharim, the Ramchal, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, shares this amazing conversation between God and Jacob. When Jacob saw that Rachel was unable to conceive, he didn't think maybe it was himself. He immediately blamed her. He didn't think that at least I have children with Leah. He only thought about himself. He didn't imagine the anguish that Rachel was feeling. So the Ramchal rebukes Jacob. And he says, Yaakov, for replying angrily to Rachel when she said, give me children, the Midrash reports, the Holy One, blessed be he, said to him, is this how you answer someone who's in pain? Is this how you speak to a person who is in distress? Kach onim et hame'nikot? Is this how you talk to people who are afraid? Maybe there have been times over the past 6 months where we haven't responded as others need us to respond. Maybe it's been a parent or a friend or a spouse or children who needed us in this moment and we were short with them. Maybe it was when your parent called you for the 14th time to walk them through setting up Zoom or how to log into Netflix. But maybe our response wasn't as compassionate as it should have been. See, we're living in terrible times. We need to be more careful with the language we use with each other. Our nerves are frayed. We need to hold in check what we say. Long before Don Miguel Ruiz wrote the wildly popular book called The Voice of Knowledge, A Practical Guide to Inner Peace, in which he says, be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make any assumptions. Always do your best. Be impeccable with your word. Think for just a moment before you say what you're going to say. Be impeccable with your word. Our tradition has long taught Lashon Hara is something to be avoided. Gossip is what we call it. But Lashon Hara, literally translated, is evil speech. Evil speech. Since we are children, our parents have taught us that calling people names is wrong. And I add, like swearing, calling names shows a genuine lack of creativity and intellect. And it's nefarious. Words carry a lot of weight in this world. And those words can bring a world into being. We say every morning in the Berachot HaShachar, Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam, God spoke and the world came into being. So too we imitate God in creating worlds. We create worlds with our speech. We create relationships. We encourage people. We bring consolation to the bereaved, and strength to the sick, and support to the depleted. Or we can do the opposite. Says Ruiz, be impeccable in your speech. Don't lie. Don't bend the truth. Don't embellish. Don't exaggerate. Don't deflect. Be honest with others. Be impeccable in your speech. Every time you open your mouth and ask yourself, am I being impeccable with my words? Am I saying what I mean? Kol NIdrei is all about the promises we make and that we're unable to keep. It teaches us that our words mean something. Our words mean something until they don't. We know there are words that are driving teachers crazy right now. With this move to online learning, we know that just simple words can set a teacher off. I'll just share a few of them because there are so many teachers here tonight. Synchronous and asynchronous. Pivot, transparent, rigor, robust, unpack, data-driven, deeper dive, and my favorite, intentional. Right? You love the word intentional teaching, right? Intentional learning, as if everything you had done up until that moment was accidental. Kol NIdrei teaches us that our words mean something and they affect others. It's not a surprise when another person becomes upset after what we've said. We know the phrase, "You made my day," can actually make someone's day. Kol NIdrei teaches us that there are things we wish we could take back. We all say things we wish we never said, but once they're out, it's hard to unsay them. We also know the popular phrase today, to double down. It means an unwillingness to take back something hurtful or even dangerous. The opposite phrase, which is equally popular today, is walking it back, which doesn't exactly mean taking it back. But I guess it's all we can expect from our leaders today. Kol NIdrei says it's okay to take it back once in a while. It's okay to try and save face by saying I was wrong. That sometimes will make you even more credible. Kol NIdrei gives us an out. So many people today feel despair, to which I implore you, I beg of you, please let this moment get the best of you, not the worst of you. Which reminds me, I forgot to share with you the 4-letter words I can't say from the bima. Now, honestly, I didn't think there were going to be as many young people here this evening. I thought this was going to be basically an adult service, and I was hoping that this little segue would give you an opportunity, if you're at home watching with your children, to take them out of the room. But I'm so angry right now about what's going on in our world, I can't help but say these 4-letter words. There are 3 or even 4 of them that are dying to come out of my mouth. I can't help it, so brace yourself. I'm going to say them. I know there are going to be repercussions. Cantor, you may be here by yourself next week. I'm just going to blurt these 4-letter words out, and then I'm going to move on. Vote. Mask. Hoax. Race. There, I said them. But now that I said them, let me share a couple, maybe 3, maybe 4-letter words in Hebrew that make me feel so much better. Shalom, Ahava, Kadosh, Tikkun, peace, love, holiness, and repair. And then let us save one last English word so that we can conclude this sermon. Amen. I have to tell you, I have a whole list of other 4-letter words I want to share, but I think I've run out of time. Shana Tova. We continue with Ya'aleh on page 223.